note to myself after Boris' only option, speak really, really slowly. The only thing I can say about this night out we had together 10 years ago is today when I met Boris, the first thing I said to him was, Boris, I didn't recognize you sober. And Liz here, when we were driving back home, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, the one thing she kept asking me is, she said, are you sure he's conservative? Let me start by thanking Boris. He's a true friend. We are here to mark a historic moment on British support for Zionism, and there's no one, and you can hear it in his sayings, that is more fitting to receive our gratitude in behalf of Britain than Boris. There is a saying that every politician and every journalist knows. It is perhaps the most commonly used phrase in politics. It's all interests. That is the first thing they tell you while entering political life. Everyone you meet, everyone who speaks to you, same thing. Always look for the interests hiding behind the words. It will always be there. Like in the well-known poker phrase, if you don't know who the sucker around the table is, then it's you. There is only one problem with that approach. It is wrong. It's not only wrong, it damages and corrupts all those who believe in it. It is true that you'll meet your fair share of cheats and crooks. It is true that there's no lack of interests being played out. But the real truth is that in relations between nations, between leaders, more often than people think, and definitely more often than the press think, the real driving force is actually a higher purpose, significant, sometimes even noble. In relations between nations, you'll find economic interests, religious interests, geographic and demographic interests. But if you look deeper into the machine, you will find far more friendship, empathy, shared values, and the willingness to help. Nations have gone to wars to define ideas like freedom, equality, the right of self-determination. Nations have gone to wars because their allies were under attack and they were loyal to their friends. Nations have gone to wars because they were unwilling to remain silent in the face of injustice. This is not naivety. This is statistics. There are millions of people in the world who believe that God commands them to commit acts of violence. But there are billions of people in the world who believe God commanded them to be good and help the weak. Every month, 3 or 4 or 5,000 people join ranks of ISIS and other terror organizations. But many, many more, including in this room, join charities and dedicate their lives to a greater good. The vast majority of humanity will do anything for their children, for their elderly parents, for their friends, not because it is in their best interest, but because it defines them in a very profound way. Countries can and must believe in the goodness of humanity and harness it for the good of the society. 98 years have passed since the Balfour Declaration, one person's lifetime in modern times. My grandfather died at 101. In those 98 years, the world has proven time and again that it is willing to act against its interests in the service of the right idea. When history judges these 98 years, it will be forced to admit that countries are not motivated only by territorialism, greed, and the lust for power. In contrast to everything the cynics say, the world is driven most of the time by the need to create a better universe, more caring and more generous. This is how the human race achieved victory over the Nazis, the fall of the Berlin Wall, Dr. Martin Luther King's Million Man March, Gandhi's nonviolent revolution, and the movement of women liberation. It is, I know, a subversive idea. The idea that not only people are good, but countries are also institutions with good intentions, contradicts everything we have told thousands of times a day in the media and in social networks. We are under an unrelenting attack, a distractive attack, drumming our senses, trying ceaselessly to convince us that the world is governed only by economic interests, lust for money and power, base hatred. Although the facts say differently, these theories have secured a dangerous place in the hearts and minds of people. Our role, the role of leaders, is to mount the counteroffensive. We must fight for the place of human goodness, of generosity and kindness, of compassion and love in our everyday life. It needs to be a part of our political agenda, part of the vocabulary of the speeches and writings of every political campaign. I dare say to my politician friends, this is also better politics than stoking fear and anxiety. It will help you recruit more political activists who will work for the political ideas you seek to advance. The Balfour Declaration, which we gather here to commemorate, is one such moment of political kindness, a moment in which empathy overcame interest. It is made up of only 9 short lines, but what sits between those lines is the ability to really see the other, to understand his pain, and to take action to help. In those days, there was already a colossal Arab majority around us. In those days, it was already clear that oil would power the world, and that whoever stands with the Jews will pay a price. One thing stood counter to this. It was the right thing to do. The Jewish people waited 2,000 years to return to their homeland. At that moment in time, Britain was the only country which was able to bring the tormented journey to an end and allow the Jews to return to their land. The fact that Great Britain did that is proof once more that nations, like people, are willing to take risks and even pay a price to be just and to be good. This is not to be taken for granted. It is the least obvious thing that can occur in relations between people and nations. The reason I'm here today is to say that we, the Jews, are people with long historical memory. We will not forget this act of goodness, and we will be forever grateful. Thank you very much. In the name of goodness, I want to say there's only one thing on earth that is capable of forcing me to leave right away instead of staying for dinner. Today is my mother's 81st birthday. And I think I'm already going to sleep today without milk and cookies. So we will be leaving right now. I thank you all for all your good work, and thank you for having us.